So you've raised your UMA, and now what? What do we do with it? Well, there's a few things you can do, and today we're going to talk about it. So you can use your UMAs to participate in something called a team trial. So what are team trials? Well, it's 5 races, and each race has 3 UMAs in it, and it's for a variety of different distances. There's short, mile, medium, long, and dirt mile. And you are facing basically like just random people across the internet. And out of those 5 races you do, if your UMAs win 3 of them, then you win overall. Now, there is a bit more to this, right? So usually when you finish a team trial, you'll get some points, and there's a way those points are calculated, which I'm going to talk about today. And the higher the points, every Monday resets, and you get to either move to a different class, which means you're going to face harder UMAs, or you're going to stay in your class, or you're going to drop a class because your UMAs were not, unfortunately, strong enough, or you didn't accumulate enough points to move on. If you are curious about your final score at the end of a team trial, you can see it actually broken down by UMA. At the end, where it says you won or you lost, you'll see it says score info, and you can see and you can click your UMA to see exactly how the score was broken down. It's really helpful to understand which UMA is really good and then which UMA is not doing so great. So how is the score calculated, or what is it affected by? Well, in general, I'll talk about specifics soon, but in general, it's affected by the way your UMA is built regarding, how many skills it has. It could be based off of stats a little bit. It's based off of what strategy you're running, etc. Next is the actual placement in the race. So if your UMA gets like first, second, third, etc. Points are calculated based off if you win the whole race. There is some extra points if you win multiple races. There's a specific instances like within the race that increase your points. So like specific parts of the race, there'll be like some type of point calculation going on there, which I will talk about. And then there's just other things, which is kind of weird. So apparently your support cards can also affect your calculation. And then there's something called an ace bonus, which we will talk about soon. So first, let's talk about the way the UMA's build affects it, right? So first, it could be affected by your star rating and the level of your unique. So if we look at this table, if you have a star rating of 1 or 2 on your UMA, then you can get anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 additional points. If your UMA is 3 stars at least, then it can go anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 extra points. And there's a couple ways to increase your UMA star level. You could pull for her and get more of her, which eventually, if you have enough, you can bring her to the next star level. You can use something called statues, which if you purchase them from the store, then you can get more UMA stars to unlock her next rating. So those are the 2 ways you can increase the star level. And then your star level sort of affects your unique level. So if you are UMA rated level 3, then your skill level starts at 1. If you are 4-star, you start at 2. And if you're 5-star, you start at skill level 3. And then to get more skill levels during your career, there are 3 times your unique level can increase. So the 3 ways to increase your unique level within a career this is all during the last year of training, or the 3rd year of training. The first half of February, the Valentine's Day event, if you have 60,000 fans, or if you're Urara or Falcon and have 40,000 fans, then it'll increase your unique level. If during the first half of April, your bond level with the president has to be at least green for this to happen, and you have 70,000 fans, or you're Urara and Falcon, it has to be only 60,000 fans, then it'll increase your unique level. And then finally, the second half of December during Christmas, if you have 120,000 fans, or you are Urara or Falcon, you only need 80,000 fans, then you will get another unique level. So you can get up to 3 additional unique levels. So if you have a 5-star UMA, you start at unique skill level 3, then your max could be 6. I don't know how to get to unique skill level 10 currently. I don't know if that's just a JP thing or not, or if this table is just calculating for the future. But as of right now, at least in global, we can only get to skill level 6. And then the other thing is the skills are activating during the race. So if your Uma has a skill activation and it's a normal rarity, that's an additional 500 points. For gold rarity skills, it's 1200. So for that, then you want to make sure that your Uma has a lot of skills that can activate during a race. And then the other thing is you want to make sure that you have a higher wit, because the higher wit you have, the more likely your skills will activate. So if you want to learn more about like how wit normally affects a run, you can check out my video on wit. But just for a summary, the wisdom or wit increases your skill chance, sort of like a diminishing return. So if you look at this chart, you can see if you only have 200 wit, then you have a 55% chance of proccing your skill. But if you have 700 wit, then you'll have an 87% chance. So if you see like between like 500 to 700, it goes from 82% to 87%. So at that point, you know, the more wit, it's like a diminishing return because you're not getting like a very large increase to your skill chance. If you're curious, here's the actual formula they use, where if you put in your wit, it'll calculate the skill chance. Moral of the story, lots of skills you want on your Uma. You want to make sure your Uma has the highest star rating. You want to make sure her unique is the highest it can be. And you want to make sure she has a lot of wit to activate those skills. Next, it is the position your Uma ends up in. So, you know, each Uma individually will have a score, right? So if one of your Umas gets first place, it's 10,000 points. Second place, 8,000, third, etc., up until 12th place, which is 2,000 points. So, you know, you want your Umas obviously to be in the first, second, and third place so that you get as much points as you can get. That's about 25,000 additional points you can get. Sadly, you know, obviously not all your Umas can be first place, right? You can't just have all three positions just first place, first place, first place, by the way. So technically they are kind of competing against themselves, but like not really. So that's just something to think about. So this next part, you know, is sort of important because you can like cannibalize your own score if you're not careful with this. So your placement within your strategy or position during the middle and final spurt can affect your points. So if you are running a pace chaser and out of all the pace chasers, you are ahead of all the pace chasers during the middle of the race, you will get an additional 1,000 points. If during the final spurt, among all the pace chasers, you were in front of all those pace chasers, then you will also get an additional 1,000 points. So what I mean by cannibalizing is if you're running 3 pace chasers during your team trial within the same distance race, then only one of them can get those additional 2,000 points because only one of them will be the best out of all the pace chasers, even if you're running 3 pace chasers and they're all like ahead of the other people within the pace chasers. So what you want to do then is you kind of want to run an Uma in each different position. So like, you know, you could do a front, a pace, a late, you could do an end, a late, a pace, whatever it is. As long as they all don't have the same strategy, then they each can get an additional 2,000 points if they're positioned the best during the middle and final spurt within their strategy. And that's a weird thing to say, but the summary to that is just don't run the same strategy for every single horse within your distance. Next is overall placement with all of your Umas. So if your Umas are all in the top 3, then you get an additional 5,000 points. If all 3 of your Umas are in the top 5, then you get an additional 4,000 points. Now this does not stack because if you're in the top 3, then obviously you're in the top 5. So you would think 9,000 points. No, you only still get the 5,000 points. And then finally, it's the length distance between first and second place. For example, right, if there are 10 lengths between first place and second place, you know, like their distance between each other, then you get an additional 2,600 points. If they are literally like nose to nose, right, they get an additional 5,000 points. Next is the race itself, like the individual race. So there's a couple of things that can increase your score here. So there's something called starting strong, which is like when you literally start the race, you have a very, very low delay. Like it just goes, you know. You can get an additional 1,000 per Uma. There's something called the dark horse title, which is if you are the 8th favorite or worse, that has to do with your fan count, and you win 3rd place or better, then you'll get an additional 4,000 points. We have them beating the target time. So apparently each course has their own standard course time or reference time where like it's like, oh, it should take this many seconds to beat the course, right? I don't know where to find the exact course times, but apparently, you know, if you beat the standard course time by 2 seconds, meaning let's say they're like, oh, this course should take you 30 seconds, right? But you beat it at 28 seconds. Then they'll increase your score by 2,000 and up till negative 0.1 seconds, you will get only 100 extra points. So, you know, the quicker your UMA is to beating the course, more likely it's going to beat the standard course time and increase the score by up to 2,000. Again, I really don't know where to find the standard course times. So it's just good to know, but, you know, we can't really track it yet. If you know where to find the standard course times, you know, just let me know, because I've been looking everywhere for it and I just can't find it. And then finally, we have rushed status, which is a negative effect. So if your UMA becomes rushed during the race, they will get a negative 500 to their score, and every second they continue to be rushed, they get a negative 100 to their score. So rush can be up to 12 seconds, so that would be negative 500 plus 1200, so that's about negative 1700 you can get to your score if you are rushed for the whole duration. And of course, I've talked about rush before. I think I talked about it in my wit video, but just a little summary is rushed is basically during the first half of a race, randomly, your UMA becomes rushed. And what that means is she consumes 60% of her stamina and she can change her strategy to become more aggressive. So what that means is, let's say she runs pace, but she becomes rushed. She can try to run front, which is not good for her, obviously, which would further mess her up. So rushed is for 12 seconds. However, every 3 seconds, you have a 55% chance to break rushed. And rushed chance is calculated literally at the beginning of the race, and it is affected by your wit. So the higher your wit, the higher your chance of not becoming rushed, or I guess the lower chance of becoming rushed. So what that means is if you look at this chart, at 200 wisdom, you have about a 24% chance of becoming rushed. But if you're at 700 in your wit, you have a 12.32% chance of being rushed. Here's the formula if you are interested in knowing what your chance of being rushed is. Of course, there's that diminishing return that you also saw with your chance of proccing your skills. So obviously you want really high wit, but you don't need to max out wit. So now just like talking about the races in general. So if you win at least 3 races in a row, the next race, so like the 4th race, if you win that, you get 3k extra points. And then obviously then you would get 3k extra points for the 5th race if you win that. If you win at least 3 races in general, that means you win, you know, the entire thing. So that's a victory, so you get 10,000 points. And then the opponent's rating can be a percentage increase to your score, and it can be at least 50%. So I have an example. So for example, I have this one instance where I ran against an opponent who had 178,214 as their rating. And when I looked at my score, my base points were 4,000. My opponent rating bonus was 3,449. So the opponent increased my score by 86%. Then I have this other instance where I went against an opponent who had a score of 194,898. And after the race, if I looked at my base points, I had 10,000 base points. My opponent rating bonus was 10,255. So my rating percentage increase was 102.55%. So you can see that's much bigger than 50%. So that means the higher your rating bonus is in general, right? That means you'll be able to fight opponents of higher ratings, and so you will get a higher rating bonus. Then we have some miscellaneous, right? So if you look at your support bonus, what that means is that every support card that is at least level 20, you get a 0.01% increase to your final score, up until level 50, which gives a 0.05% increase to your final score. And this support bonus is capped at 50%. And then finally, you have your ace bonus. So your ace is the first horse that you choose for each distance, and they each get a 10% bonus to their score individually. So now that we've talked about like what affects your team trial score, we should talk about what we can do to control sort of the score itself, because obviously there's a lot of RNG in this game and there's going to be points where we can't control it, right? But the things that we can do is, first of all, at every single distance, we should have a different strategy. So, I could be for a medium distance, I can run a pace and a late and an end, right? Those are 3 different horses in 3 different places, right? The next thing is you want to make sure that your Uma has the highest star level as possible. And you want to also make sure that then their unique level is as high as possible, because that will affect your score. You want to make sure that you have lots of skills, particularly the higher rarity skills on your Umas, along with higher wit, because higher wit means your skills will proc more often. In addition, you won't hopefully get rushed, etc. Again, you want your unique at the highest level, so making sure that you're hitting your fan bonuses at each point in your career. You want to pick the best ace, so whoever has the best stats and skills and everything like that, you want to make sure they're your ace, because then they will get that 10% bonus. So those are ways we can control. And obviously there's a lot of RNG again in this race. We can't actually control when your skills will proc, but we can try our best. Sometimes we just get unlucky and we get rushed. Sometimes, we get a late start. We can't control that always. But at the end of the day, there are things that we can't control, so we can try our best to do so. Thank you so much on watching my video on team trials. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. If you have a good strategy for team trials, also let me know. And if you happen to know where to find that standard course time, I would really appreciate that, because I can't find it anywhere. All right, guys, thank you so much. Welcome to the new year, and can't wait to post more videos. Thanks, guys. Bye.